take it back, man. I take it back. Listen, I complained about having to pay CBS All Access to see Star Trek, but take my money. Take my money. Man, I'm telling you, Star Trek Discovery was so good, guys. We're going to get into episode 3 today. I believe it was Context is for Kings. And I don't even know where to start. How about this? How about we start with just kind of a brief overview of the show? If I miss anything, put it in the comments below. But a brief overview, then I'll get into my thoughts and why this thing is just is amazing. Like, I feel like, okay, I'm stumbling over myself. Let's do this the right way. All right, so let's give a brief overview of the show. So what happens is Michael Burnham is on a ship. She's being sent to, I guess, some kind of penal colony or some kind of prison colony. If you saw the last 2 episodes, you know she committed mutiny. Basically, she disobeyed the captain, and essentially she triggered a war with the Klingons, kind of triggered a war with the Klingons. It was going to happen anyway. But she committed mutiny. She was court-martialed for that, and she's on her way to a penal colony. So they're in the ship with a few other prisoners, and something happens with the ship. The pilot goes out of the ship to find out what's going on the outside of the ship. So at this point, nobody's piloting the ship. It's on autopilot. And these guys are still locked down in the containment unit or whatever, the holding cell of the ship. So the pilot goes out, but she becomes untethered. So literally she is like floating through space, and the ship is damaged, and now the ship is just on its way to destruction. It's just a matter of time before the ship is destroyed or before something happens, but they can't do anything, the prisoners on the ship, because they're still chained up. Well, the ship gets rescued by the USS Discovery, and Burnham is on this ship now, and people know who she is. I mean, she's known, her title now is a mutineer. So people know what she did, and everybody looks at her with disdain. Well, she's on this ship for a little bit, just until they can repair her shuttlecraft, and then they're back on their way to the prison colony. Well, while she's on the ship, she finds out something's going on the ship. Something strange is happening, but she's not quite sure what it is. And when she tries to find out what it is, she still doesn't really get any definitive answer, and no one will tell her what's going on. Long story short, the captain of the ship actually talks to her about helping with some needs in a science project that's going on. So she goes down there to help. She's really, really good in science. She's a science officer, so she's really, really good. She's really adapted, that type of thing. And he's like, well, listen, I think you can help me. He asks her to help. She says no. He's like, yeah, you're going to help anyway, basically. So she does end up helping. And then more questions just kind of unfurl for her. She's like, something's happening here. But she's still not able to find out what's going on. Long story short, something happens to one of the sister ships, and she's sent on an away mission to help determine what happened. They go to the ship. People on the ship are just straight like mutilated. I mean, like twisted, gnarled. It's just, it's gross what's happened to the people on this ship. So there's something on this ship that did that to the crew members. They come across as like huge beasts. I don't know what the thing is. It's some kind of huge beast. She's instrumental in really helping them escape that ship. They get back to the Discovery. The captain offers her a permanent position as part of the crew, and the two go back and forth as it relates to that, because she says no, he says yes. And they kind of go back and forth about why she would stay. Long story short, she ends up staying, and that's kind of how the episode ends. So there's my synopsis. If I missed something, put it in the comments below. I know it's not super detailed, but I want to start talking about the show. So, man, you know, I said before when I talked about the first 2 episodes that this series is visually so dynamic that it's amazing to see, because it's not like any other Star Trek TV series that we've seen before. It's nothing like it. I mean, this thing is cinematically in line with what you might see on the big screen, and it's so impressive to watch. It is amazingly done. The cinematography in this is really just amazingly done. So that's the first thing that impressed me. And if you know anything about my channel, if you've watched any of my other stuff, you hear me talk about visual storytelling a lot, because it's so important to a well-crafted movie, television show, whatever. That visual storytelling piece is so important, and this thing hits it on the head. So I was just shocked to see the creativity, the visual sense, feel, tone, depth, all of that quality really drawing us into the story. And the writing for this is really good as well. So we know now that Burnham is somehow related to Spock, because she mentioned her mother's name, which was Amanda. Amanda Carson was Spock's mom's name too. So we know now officially that Spock and Amanda are brother and sister, which is interesting because she is African American in Discovery, and I don't think we find out or at least I don't remember if we ever met his sister in any of the later episodes. So it's interesting, the twist that we see here. It's also interesting that it appears that they are really kind of building this story around her, around Michael Burnham. Now we'll see if that shifts or not, but it looks that way right now, and that's really interesting, right? Because we've always had, most Star Trek stories have been built around what? The captain and the ship. But this story tends to centralize around her. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep it that way, and if they can keep it that way, because I do kind of feel like Star Trek fans are used to that format, kind of that general format of it really being centered around the ship and her captain, or the captain and her ship. But this looks like it's going to be a little bit different. I feel like this is a shift in Star Trek storytelling in the Star Trek universe, and it's really, really interesting. And I know I was a little bit nervous before this came out, because I wondered, you know, how it was going to be. If you guys didn't see my video with ranking all of the Star Trek TV series, and check that out, because I ranked them. So by far my favorite has been Star Trek The Next Generation, just for so many different reasons. I'm not going to get into it. Check out the video. I'll put a link. I don't know where that thing is. Be floating somewhere around here. Should be floating somewhere around here right now. You can check that out after you finish seeing this, because I want you to comment on this. So the story here is really, really interesting, and I love the performances as well. I just feel like this whole thing is just so dialed in. It feels so taut. It feels so tight. All of it just comes together to tell a really, really interesting story. So if you're a Star Trek fan, I would assume that you are loving this. Now, I know that I read some comments from some other people that were complaining because they were saying they were tired of seeing past Star Trek series. They didn't want to go back to the past. They wanted to know what the future of Starfleet is. And I feel that. Like, that resonates with me. But when I see this, the way that this thing is told, filling in the backstory, is really, really good. I'm telling you, I've not seen anything like it. I'm super impressed. And one of the reasons that I am happy that it is kind of on CBS All Access is that we do have access to it once it's aired. We can go back and watch it over and over and over again. So that's the cool thing about it. Man, you guys, what did you think about episode 3, Context is for Kings? It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. I love Burnham's character, which is interesting now, because now it's kind of making me want to go back and maybe get into The Walking Dead, because I know that she was in that as well. I like a lot of the other cast in here. So one of the things also, you guys, that I wanted to talk about was the interesting characters that we've seen, and maybe we'll get some more development on just some of the different races that we've seen. But the one character that stands out is, I think it's Saru is how you pronounce the name. And he's interesting too, because he apparently is genetically bred to sense death. So it's really interesting to see how they will kind of capitalize on his character and develop him as well. I'm just impressed, man. That's all I can say. I'm impressed. I mean, to me, this thing feels like an Abrams film. I really, really enjoyed episode 3. So, guys, stay with me next week. Of course, we're going to cover episode 4, and we're just going to keep it going. I'm looking forward to your feedback, what you thought about it, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, all that stuff. Give me all that in the comments, guys. Thank you so much. Be sure to check out the other Star Trek stuff. I've got 2 videos on Discovery so far, so really want to kind of get into it, and we're going to pack just different videos around the Discovery series. So don't forget also to check out that link in Twitter. I'm going to put it below in the not the comment section, whatever that section where I write the text about what the video is about. I can't remember. It's just escaping me right now. So guys, please again make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, so we can stay connected and we can talk more about this. Guys, thank you so much, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.